Hello, everybody. Raven fans, Oriole fans, thank you for joining us this week for the Ravery Sports podcast. For you, for fans like me, thank you for joining us no matter where you are. So, all you out here in Baltimore, in Virginia, in DC, and further than that, this is for podcasts, but definitely for fans like us that are here that are Raven fans and Oriole fans that are really looking for some good Ravens and Orioles discussion. We're going to do this every Wednesday night here on the Ravery Sports Podcast. So thank you very much for joining us no matter where you are. Thank you very much for checking us out each and every Wednesday night. So let's get down to business. Let's get you squared away with all of our business. The first bit of business is we're going to talk about ravorisports.company.site. So definitely you can get hats. I'm going to zoom in there, right? You can get this Raven hat like we have on here. It is on the website. You could definitely check it out. We have plenty of Raven hats, jerseys, Orioles t-shirts, Oriole hats, all that stuff. All that is on the website. So definitely go ahead and check it out on the website anytime, day or night, 24 hours. When we ship stuff, we'll definitely ship it. You definitely have the option of getting it regular mail, or you have the option of getting it express mail. Usually we'll send it out FedEx. Well, we have the option there. You do have the option on the site, depending on how that you want to get it. So definitely check it out. ravorisports.company.site. ravorisports@gmail.com. Anything that you want from us and you don't see it on the site, you can go ahead and email me. We'll go ahead and get that for you. Genesis Notary Services /Facebook.com. Okay. So definitely, if you want to book a site, this is now just for you in the Shenandoah Valley area. We'll come out and book time for you. We'll go ahead, we'll stamp your documents with care. We'll make sure it's done legally right. If you have any legal documents, divorce anything like that, any mobile work, general notary work, if you need home inspection, you need somebody to take pictures of that property that you're trying to sell, or hey, maybe you need pictures of the property and you're not from here. You know, you may be moving to the area, you've never seen it. We'll go out, we'll be independent and take you a good look at the property, all the area, surrounding area. We'll do that for your home inspection for you. Genesis Notary Services. C. Charles Harris. We are LegalShield.com is the website. Definitely check us out. We're going to have another promotion coming for Legal Shield. The value is tremendous. Everybody I've talked to has been very happy with it. So definitely check us out with We Are Legal Shield. You can call us a call. The number is on the Facebook page. It's on the website. So definitely give us a call if you absolutely want to see Charles Harris. We are LegalShield.com. All right. So let's get down to business. Lots of interesting topics today. All right, so we're going to go ahead and go over a bunch of things first. We're going to talk about the presser first, okay? So we're going to get to NFL for better or worse, the title of the stream. We're going to do that in a little bit. But we're going to talk about the Ravens pre-draft press conference, more affectionately known as the Liars' Lunch. Right? So it's called that. Why? So it's called the Liars' Lunch because it's a pre-draft press conference, right? Before the draft, you're not going to tell all the other 31 teams in the league what you're going to do. But these press conferences are mandated by the league. So Eric DaCosta and John Harbaugh get up there and they talk about, they answer questions about the upcoming draft. So the fans and the press get an idea about what they're looking for in the draft. Now, I personally, I see a lot of streams on this and a lot of coverage of this. I personally don't get a lot out of it because they're not going to tell you a lot because they can't, right? Because they can't say much about it. But there are some things in this like that you might get. So you kind of got to read between the tea leaves what they're saying. Sometimes you really got to read. Also, too, again, we talked about the draft as far as we did our mock draft. Smoke screens. Those are real things, okay? So when you are doing a mock draft, a pre-draft presser in this case, teams put out there things that are kind of smoke screens. So I'm gonna point out some things I thought that were kind of, I thought real things, some things are just obvious, no matter how many times they put smoke screens out there. Interesting to me, not even as much as what they talked about with the players in the draft that they like, the positions that they like in the draft, but the veterans. They did ask a question. Somebody did ask a question about Rashard Bateman and Jace and well, that's what his name was on the draft. Oh, Adafiowe in the draft, and he basically didn't. He basically said, "Well, they haven't decided yet what they're going to do. Fifth year option with those guys. So basically, with first round picks, they get a fifth year deal. So like when you draft a player, second round on, you get a 4-year deal, right? In the first round, which both of those guys were first rounders, you get a fifth year option. So you get a 4-year deal, plus the team can keep you for a fifth year option. So the Ravens need to decide on that fifth year for Owe and Bateman coming up here in the next month after the draft. So he kind of sidestepped that question. I'm pretty sure they're not going to pick up those options. I don't think I would. I don't think either one of those guys has shown enough to pick up an option. That's going to be like $13 million, I think, or something in the range of that with Bateman. Owe, it's going to be, I don't know exactly what the number is. It's going to be less because he was picked later. No chance that they pick up those options as well. Those guys just haven't shown enough for a long-term extension, and they're positive that they're going to go ahead and do that. They're not. I don't think they're going to go ahead and pick that up. So that's kind of what I read out of that when he said that. He said he spent a lot of time looking at offensive tackles and a lot of time in the draft because he was said what Eric DeCosta was saying was it wasn't because that they needed so much. There's just so many guys early that they had to go ahead and look at. There were so many guys that they had to look at it. That's again smoke screen. They need an offensive tackle. They're left guard, right tackle, and right guard is absolute need for them at all three positions. I do expect 2 offensive tackles, 2 offensive linemen, at least in this draft. Could be 3 or 4. It would not shock me if they did 4 offensive line. I think it'll be 2 at least. It could be 3. But they definitely need offensive line. They weren't just doing that because it's because it's not a need. Now it is true. This is an offensive tackle heavy draft. If you looked at our mock draft, that's definitely the case. But it's definitely a situation where they are going to be looking at that. And it is true. There's a lot early. Okay, but the part where like it's not because okay, yeah, they definitely need it. Very complimentary of the wide receivers as well. Again, in the draft, looking at receivers, wouldn't shock me if the Ravens took a first-round pick. He's very complimentary. He said there's a lot of good receivers. I don't think they'll be there, but he was very complimentary of the wide receivers as well. So that kind of tells me in the first round there, he's looking at offensive linemen and wide receivers early. It's a good thing to do as well. So that's really no big shock there that he's doing that. Corners, he said, was average. That was a bit of a surprise. He said the corners overall was average. So no, I'm sorry. Edge rush, he said, was average. That was a bit of a surprise that he's not that. That tells me he's not that enthusiastic about the edge rushers. I didn't expect one. They gave a lot of money to Matabuke. They made middle rounds. Now he kind of perked up when he said, "Well, middle rounds." That's kind of what they've been doing, middle round stuff with that. Corners, there's a couple corners in the draft. He did mention that sometimes. He was asked about that. I expect them to take a corner. He said that they probably would take a corner at some point as well. Running backs, he wasn't that enthusiastic. I thought he did put a little bit of a smoke screen there when he said, well, we expect running backs in the third round. I think there's a couple might go in the second round as well. I think mid-second, but I think he's trying to, again, put that out there that these guys aren't third round. So don't be shocked if you see like a Blake Corum or Trey Benson in the second round as well. I think he was kind of putting that smoke out there as well. So again, Liars Lunch went on yesterday. So definitely it is in totality. If you go to the Ravery Sports Facebook page and Twitter page, I go ahead and put the link to the YouTube and where else, so you can go ahead and look at that. Very interesting as well. Next week, we're going to go over big board for the teams as well. So we're going to do Ravens big board. Big board is different for each team. It really is the big board. Everybody thinks the big board is different in terms of players, which makes a lot of sense depending on what you need. At the top, they're kind of similar, but the boards are different as you go along. But it's different in the sense of how they do it. And I want to go ahead and go over that next week when we talk about how the Ravens do it as far as the big board. But the Liars Lunch, the big takeaway is definitely look for what we thought they were. Offensive lineman early, wide receiver early, cornerback early. I think those are things that they're definitely looking at early in the draft. Maybe a middle round inside linebacker. He mentioned that as well. Maybe we take a middle round offensive line. This is more off season. I think I said this Raven business. They kind of reverted more back to how they usually do it. You know, the draft, taking out middle rounds, value, et cetera, patience, that type of stuff. So definitely this is more revert to Raven business, how they do things in this off season. So I want to go over that a little bit. We're going to get to for better or worse. So some of y'all might not like Tyler Perry, but me and my wife always watch Tyler Perry, and especially this one. Michael Jai White is probably the toughest man on earth, literally. I think he would beat up Bruce Lee and Mike Tyson. But he was in this comedy called For Better or Worse. Couple years old. I know it's a little dated, but marriage, as we know, is for better or worse. So it says NFL, better or worse, right? So we're looking at the offseason at the NFL teams and which teams got better, which teams got worse, which teams got much better, which teams got much worse, which teams are staying the same. Okay. So better is not also good at times. Some teams are going to stay bad. Some teams are going to stay good. Some teams are going to be much better, much worse. A playoff team might go to a non-playoff team or vice versa. Or a team early in the draft might be picking early again. Super Bowl teams might stay there or they might revert back. Who's done better or worse? We're at the point of the offseason now. We're not at the draft quite yet, but we see who drafts well. I know a lot of these teams draft well. So we kind of know. Not all the way. We're still waiting on the draft. Some team might have a huge draft and change this a little bit, but better or worse, right? Who did better than one team? Who did worse? Okay. These teams I have, and when I'm doing this now, I'm going to split them up in sixes, right? So I'm going to split up in six. So you have all the teams in the league. Who's much better? Tennessee Titans. Titans, I think, got much better. They've had a good offseason. They had Calvin Ridley. They went ahead and signed in the offseason. They did go ahead and get rid of Tannehill. They're going to go ahead with P. Ryan now full-time at the running back position. They spent a lot of money in free agency. I think they're much better. I think Vrabel's gone. They're making some shifts. Now, there's a lot of movement in the offseason, but I do think they have a massive improvement. The Chargers, what's the improvement? They got Jim Harbaugh there. Jim Harbaugh, I think, is one of the better coaches in college or pro. He's definitely looked like he's mellowed as well. Look, they're going to run the football. No more of this stuff where they don't know what they're going to do, can't get plays in, moving the slow clock. They got Jim Harbaugh there. They are going to run the football. That's what they're going to do. So Justin Herbert, all they're going to ask him to do, and it's as good as he is, now you don't have to carry the load anymore. We're going to run the football. We got Gus Edwards. They're looking at JK. They did get rid of receivers. So I think that's the thing. But those guys were older. They dropped Keenan Allen, but I think they're going to have to draft some receivers. But I think they can do it. I really like the Chargers much better. Atlanta Falcons much better. I don't know if they're in the Super Bowl conversation, but when you get Kirk Cousins, that's a massive quarterback upgrade. This is the biggest quarterback upgrade on any of the 32 teams in the league. They were much, much better. They probably had the worst quarterback in the league last year, Desmond Ridder. They passed on Lamar Jackson. So had they had this attitude last year, maybe they could have actually been in the playoffs. They look like probably the best team in that division this year. Getting Kirk Cousins as well, that's a big deal. That's a big deal getting Kirk Cousins. Arizona might surprise you. Look, they're going to get Marvin Harrison possibly in the draft. They're going to high draft pick. They got a second first round draft pick, and also too they have Kyler Murray for a whole season, which they didn't really have him at the end of the year. So now you got Kyler Murray healthy all season under the new system. I think that's a big deal. Even when they had him a little bit last year, they got much better. The Jets, I'm putting them in much better, but you got to have Aaron Rodgers healthy all season. I think it was kind of a fluke last year. He is 40 years old, so it'll be interesting to see. But if I again, probably maybe only I'm gonna put them ahead of Atlanta as far as the quarterback last year, but a massive upgrade here. Zach Wilson, not an NFL quarterback. You get Aaron Rodgers back with all the stuff they've done, much better as well. Also, to that division, not as good. We'll get to that when we get to the other teams. Houston Texans, much better. I almost didn't have them in the much better, but when you get Stephon Diggs in the offseason, you go ahead and you get Joe Mixon. You definitely get much better. You almost could put them there, even with CJ Stroud still being there, getting better in the offseason. So that's a thing as well. They're pretty good. I really think they could be the favorites in their division, the Texans. So they're much better. These teams are for better, right? Like the show, Tyler Perry. For better. So they're a little bit better, right? Not much better, not better. Not better. Don't want to overthink that term. But they're better than they were last year. The Squealers. Pittsburgh, I think, better at quarterback last year. You got to put that there. You got Russell Wilson. You got Justin Fields. Both of those were better than anybody they had under center last year. I think the Steelers are better. They actually have done some things in free agency that you might like. They got rid of Mason Cole. I think they're going to have to draft in the they may have to draft a QB. They may have to draft a corner, but they're better. Not a lot better, but a little better. But they're already a playoff team. So if they can keep the quarterback steady, you never know. Cincinnati's for better. Joe Burrow's coming back. They didn't have Joe Burrow a lot of the season as well. Mixon's gone, and we don't know what T. Higgins as well. But you got to put them in better because they had Joe Burrow. They didn't have Joe Burrow. So definitely they could be in the team that could be in the AFC Championship picture. We have a healthy Joe Burrow there. For better, the Eagles. Yeah. You get Saquon Barkley, you got to say better. They basically know what they are, but when you have a dynamic runner like Barkley on your team, that definitely helps a lot. Defensively, they struggled, and they got rid of a bunch of those guys. They got Bryce Huff in. They got rid of some other guys on defense. So I definitely think they gotten a little bit younger. I think they're in a little bit better category. The Bears. Look, Keenan Allen is going to be there. That's a big deal. DJ Moore is still there. That's a big deal. They're going to draft Caleb Williams. I think that's all over but the shouting, as they say. They're going to draft Caleb Williams there. Their offense looks like a real offense, finally. So definitely they're in the for better category. Interesting, can they get to the playoffs? I don't know. But they're better. They're definitely better than they were. So are the Packers. Just because Jordan Love is terrific. Jordan Love was from I gotta be honest. I'm surprised how well he played last year. Jordan Love, the first 3 years, he looked tentative. He didn't look confident. Everything I saw him do was just dick dunk. Like anytime he threw it downfield, he didn't do very well. But last year, threw the ball downfield with confidence. Receivers got better. They're young. So a lot of their young core, Christian Watson, etc., is getting better. Got to put them in the better category. Carolina, they can only get better. I still don't know if they make the playoffs. But Bryce Young getting in their second year, I think they're going to be better. They were really bad last year. They'd be picking first if they didn't trade it. So I think they put them in the better category here as well. These things are same. The personnel isn't exactly the same, but I think they're pretty much in the same spot. The Chefs won the Super Bowl, so that doesn't mean they're going to win the Super Bowl again, but the Chefs are really good. They did go out and get Marquise Brown. I don't know what's going on exactly with She Rice, but look, you got the GOAT, you got the best in the league right now, Pat Mahomes, you got Travis Kelce still. Your offense is going to be good. You need some help at tackle. They're going to have some of the same problems, but they seem to overcome it on offense, I guess. Defensively, they're really good. They did lose Snead, so they're going to have to draft a corner. They lost him to Tennessee. That's why Tennessee is in the for better category. But they're about the same. I'm not too worried about Kansas City here. I also would say I do like the Chargers more this year that Jim Harbaugh's there. So that's a thing, the Baltimore Ravens. Ravens are about the same. We know what the Ravens are going to do. They're going to draft wide receiver. They're going to draft offensive tackle. This is probably the best team, one of the best top 5 teams if they're not in the league at drafting. So whatever they lost, they got back. They did go out and get Derrick Henry, which is a big deal. They haven't had a back as good as Derrick Henry in quite a few years. So they lost a little and they gained a little. That's typical Ravens. They lose players, but then they go ahead and they get 1-2 upgrades. That's typical Ravens. Same. They're in the same spot. Dallas, about same. I think can they do better in the playoffs with same? That's the question. Dak Prescott is really good still. Can he get them where they want to get them? They got to win in the playoffs. That's kind of the thing. I don't know if they're any better, but I don't know if they're any worse. I don't think they're any worse either. I think they're about in the same spot as well. They need to find a running back. I think that's kind of got lost with the Cowboys and all the things. They got CeeDee Lamb. They have some good defensive players. I don't know exactly what's going on with Micah Parsons, but this Dallas always has this kind of stuff around them because they get so much attention. About saying. Lions, about saying. Lions are really good. Jamar Gibbs, I love Jamar Gibbs as a running back as well. Goff is coming back for them. They have a good receiving group. I think St. Brown is terrific. Offensive line, I think, is really, really good for them. Their defense is only getting better as well. I think they're about the same. You might put them in for better, but I don't think they're going to go much further than what they got last year. I mean, for them to put them in, that'd be for sure putting them in the Super Bowl favorites. I'm not there yet with the Lions, but they're still really good. Bucks insane. I got to tell you what, that's almost an accomplishment. They re-signed Baker Mayfield, who deserved it. Had a good year last year. They went ahead and re-signed Mike Evans. I didn't know if those things were going to happen. So pretty much, I think they're in a good position as one of the best teams in their division. So they're in the same category. They did lose Carlton Davis on defense. I think they got to maybe fill some holes, but they're constantly always kind of doing that. San Fran, I think, is about the same as well. They were really good, got to the Super Bowl. I think they can absolutely do it again. I think the clock is ticking a bit, kind of like the Ravens. They're here. They're in an elite category, but it's a little tick-tock going on. Some of these guys are getting older now. You talk about Trent Williams, Kittle, things like that. I don't know how many more seasons they're going to put in the elite category, even though they have a young quarterback like Brock Purdy. For worse. So these teams have gotten worse in the offseason. So they're not where they were the year ago. So they're in the for worse category. Buffalo Bills. Let me tell you, had it not been for Josh Allen staying, they'd been in the much worse. I think when you have a quarterback that good, I'm not going to put him that far behind where they were because I think that can kind of mask it because he's a top 5 quarterback, right? So you're not going to be, but they lost those great safeties, Hyde and Poyer. They lost Stephon Diggs. They lost Gabe Davis. They're having some cap issues. They're not able to sign. You got problems. They're not better. They're definitely in the worst category. I think the only reason they're not in the 4 worst category, one more time, is Josh Allen's there. And when you have a quarterback this good, and you got to question that a little bit too, because really Allen's career really vaulted with Diggs. So interesting to see that, but not as good. Dolphins in the 4 worst category. Um, I'm still not sold on Tua. I think Tua is pretty good. You gotta give him credit though. Last year, I thought he was good, but they kind of resulted in a they got knocked out in the first round. Um, I don't know. I don't think they're. I just don't think they're going to do as well as they did last year. Tua, I think they got a break with him being healthy all year last year. I got him in the 4 worst. Jags in the 4 worst. Here's why: their division is worse. Their division is stronger, rather. They really missed an opportunity last year. Lawrence, um, yeah, Lawrence has got some work to do. I definitely like this. Now Houston looks really good. They did lose Calvin Ridley as well on offense. They did sign some guys. I mean, they did get Devin Duvernay as well down there. But they got some work to do. They did resign Josh Allen. So, but I think they're a little bit worse. I think the division is better. Tennessee and Houston. I think that's more the reason for me why they're in the 4 worst category. The Raiders. You know what the Las Vegas? It's tough to put them in any category. You just don't know. Their quarterback situation isn't going to work for me. Aiden O'Connell and Gardner Minshew in that division is not going to get it. I think that's more kind of like Jacksonville. You're worse in the division is better. You're not. You didn't fall too low, but that's why you're a little bit worse. I think you're a little bit worse. New England is worse. This is probably, I think, the one team with the top 3 quarterbacks that's going to struggle. It's New England. There's nothing there. There's nothing. They have a young coach, a rookie coach. Belichick's gone. I think that's probably one of the biggest. I mean, even last year, I mean, they didn't do so well. But you're going to have a rookie quarterback. You're going to have a rookie coach. They did sign Kyle Duggar the other day. Yeah, maybe got some of those vets there, but I don't think they win more than 4 games. I'd be surprised. Seahawks are in the 4 worst. Seahawks are they're kind of again they're limbo, but it's trending down. I think like the jury's still out on Geno. How far can you get with Geno? We'll see. I think defensively they have some good things. I mean, I think they got a good defense, but I think it's going to be harder for them. It's going to be harder for them. I think Geno, they may have to make a choice there at the end of the year. These teams are much worse. Last category, Vikings. As much as I railed on Cousins, you got no quarterback. They signed Sam Darnold. If the season were to start today, that Sam Darnold, they're not picking that high. This is why a lot of people believe the JJ McCarthy smokescreen that they want him. It could be Penix, it could be Bo Nix. You don't know. They're in the much worse. Colts. If you've been watching, you know what I think about the Colts. I think their owner and GM is just goofballs. Again, that division is tougher, and they lost Gardner Minshew. I'm not a believer in Anthony Richardson as a quarterback. He didn't play at all last year. He's got a lot of athletic ability, but they're going to be depending on him a lot. It's going to be hard in that division. Denver, no quarterback, much worse. You got rid of Russell, kind of like the same boat as Minnesota. I think they're looking at that same second tier group of quarterbacks as well. They may not even do that. I mean, if they take Jarrett Stidham, man, you may not score any points. I can't imagine Sean Payton is going to do that, but we will see about that. G-Man Giants. The Giants, I think, have been sliding down. I think Daniel Jones, the jig is up. People know that this guy is not it. Maybe you give him some receivers. You lose Saquon, your best offensive player, as well. I don't. You're worse. I think the Saints are in the 4 worst. Is in a much worse category. The cap jail, I think, is really hurting them. I don't know how good Carr is. Carr was really good at the end of last year. But he was so mediocre a lot of the year. It'll be interesting to see how well he does. They could pull themselves out of the much worse, but the division is stronger, and they basically got the same or less. Don't know how well they're going to draft as well. And the Commanders are 4 worse. They actually had a better quarterback last year with Sam Howell. Now he's gone. They're basically starting over. I don't think they're going to do well with a rookie quarterback. Um, I don't. I don't. Whether it's Jaden Daniels or Drake May, I don't know. I don't think either one of them right out the gate does well, as well as far as wins and losses. There you go. For better or worse, the NFL teams there as we have them ranked. Um, Ravens are about the same spot. They're about the same old Ravens this year. I don't think they're changing anything. They're probably not changing at least how they do business. They're kind of going back more. Last year with the Lamar Jackson stuff and all that, they're kind of doing what they've been doing. So same old Ravens as far as business. Shift to the championship. We got a blue blood now, the Huskies. That I think it would this makes 6 championships in the last. This makes I think it's 6 in the last 25 years. I could be wrong on that, but they've been the best college basketball team in the last 25 years. The Huskies go back to back after winning the Boilermakers. The Boilermakers were successful in the previous round, beating the Wolfpack of North Carolina State. Those games really weren't close. The final 4 games as well. Connecticut was successful against Alabama. Really not much of a game either. I thought they had a working game, and this one really wasn't. The Huskies basically had a working lead most of this game. It was tight at times. Tristan Newton, definitely a guy. He's a top. First of all, here's the thing about the Huskies. The Huskies have probably a starting 5 that all of them are going to the league. I don't know if they have a star, maybe. It's tough to tell now, but I don't know if they have a star, but they definitely have guys that are going to the league. This is one, Trenton Newton. He was terrific all season. He had 20 points, 5 rebounds, 7 assists. They had no answer for him. I thought he was the biggest alpha in the game. He was good in all phases. I thought you see the balanced stat line there. I thought he was good in all phases. I really like Cam Spencer. I really like watching him. 11 points, 8 rebounds as well. Kind of like a throwback to the old, showing my age here, the old Big East guys. I know they're a Big East team, but like a Perry McDonald or somebody like that. Physical, but not real big. Kind of like scores more. Keith Booth was kind of like, that's what I see a lot with Cam Spencer. Good stuff there from him. They were a complete team. Here's a guy might get picked in the lottery, Stephen Castle, 15 points, 5 rebounds as well. Definitely he's going to go early in the draft, I think, from all points. The freshman, good stuff from him. I thought him and Trenton Newton, I thought those were the 2 best players in this game as well, besides Zach Edey. From the people are starting to change their tune on him as far as, well, maybe he can. Yeah, of course. He's been dominant all year long. I think he just didn't have enough help against this just outstanding team with a lot of NBA players on it with the Huskies. I think this guy here, Brendan Smith, I think he gave it the old college try. He scored as much as he could. Didn't have a great shooting night. I thought he was a little off for his standards. He needs to be better for them to win. Fletcher Lawyer really didn't do anything for him. I don't think he scored at all. I think he had no points. Lance Jones. Let's go up there. Yeah, Lance Jones had 5 points, 3 rebounds. Had he been more consistent for them, I really think that could have been the case. Him and Lawyer really didn't help him out as much as I thought they would in that situation. They're a bit inconsistent at time. I guess a really good Connecticut team who has, guys, Devon is going to the first round, top 20. Alex Carbon as well. The other starter, top 20 guys, top 40, I think. They have like 5 guys in the top 40 of the NBA draft. So the Huskies, UConn is terrific. I think they're a complete team. They're well coached. Danny Hurley is an outstanding coach. Great all the way around. That's how you do it. Shout out to the Huskies winning the national championship in college basketball. A lot of you are watching women's basketball. I'm not doing a lot of women's basketball, but South Carolina actually, when Dawn Staley, I remember watching her a long time ago with the Olympics in the very beginning of the WNBA. So shout out to Dawn Staley, South Carolina Gamecocks, as well as winning along with Dan Hurley's UConn Huskies. One more thing on the NBA. Bronny James is sticking his name in the hat for the NBA draft as well. He's also answering the transfer portal as well. I see what else is out there without USC. They do have a new coach now at USC. Eric Musselman is now taking over for the Trojans. I kind of predicted that he would be picked in the second round, and I don't see why he wouldn't be. The question is that the best thing for him? No, it's not. I really kind of hope that LeBron kind of convinces him to go back, because he really needs to develop his game. He's going to get picked 55 by the Lakers in the second round, because he's as good as the second round pick. I don't think it would hurt anything that he got picked in the second round. The question is, I think the fear is, will LeBron's pull and influence? I think a team might be less likely to draft him. You know what I'm saying? I think they might say, well, now is the time you can develop in the G League and all that other stuff and all that. I don't think he's more than the end of the bench, but that may not matter. I think he goes into the draft. I'd be surprised unless there's a college team that really, it's Duke, North Carolina, or something like that, or I see him going into the draft as well. I think the Lakers will take him. I think he'll probably start out in the G League as well. So interesting to see what happens with Bronny. Yes, that's right. The Sacramento A's. For those of you to go to church, there's an old term, there for the grace of God, go I. I'll explain that at the end. Been following this. The A's are going to play their 2025 through 2027 seasons in the city of Sacramento, California, which is still Northern California. What is it, like 100 miles or something like that, maybe from Oakland. So they're going to go ahead and play those seasons in Sacramento. They do have an option for 2028, and then they are going to go ahead and play in Las Vegas. So they're going to finish this season in Oakland. And then they're going to play in Sacramento. Sacramento has a minor league team there. So apparently, from what I'm hearing, they're going to be sharing the stadium with a minor league team in Sacramento. 3/4 crazy here. This is. You ever see the movie Major League? Like, just stay with me for a second. Major League is in the movie Major League. The owner of the team, she's a Las Vegas showgirl, and she inherits the team, and she doesn't like Cleveland. So what they do is she's trying to strip the team bare. She's trying to strip the team, strip any interest, drop the attendance where the team is so bad where she can move the team to Miami, right? I think it's Miami, because they didn't have a team at the time when the movie came out, right? So she's trying to make the team so bad. That's pretty much what's been going on in real life in Oakland. There's several layers to this. This is disgraceful on all levels. This is disgrace. The owner is obviously a disgrace. Is disgraceful here. The management of the Oakland A's is obviously disgraceful here. The city is definitely at fault here. Fans of a city don't blame the city often, but certainly the city is certainly at fault here. And the Sacramento thing is nonsensical to me. Totally nonsensical in a lot of ways. And I didn't even get to the first part. Let's start with the commissioner. The commissioner allowing this is just ridiculous. The commissioner has stepped in. I heard a lot of the streams where the fans was like, "Why doesn't the commissioner step in?" because he doesn't want a team in Oakland anymore. He doesn't want a team in Oakland anymore. He doesn't want to do this. He certainly knows what's going on. He certainly hasn't stepped in. He could have stepped in. He's openly been saying he wants a team in Las Vegas. That's totally disrespectful to the fans, totally disrespectful to the or A's organization, to the people there. Corporate entitlement is a real thing, and I'm not going to go veer off into that too much, but somebody at some point, people actually paying hard-earned money to watch these games. Last time I took my family to a baseball game, Major League Baseball game, I spent like $300 some odd. I have 3 kids, I have a wife, I have travel, parking, all that other stuff. You're spending $300. That's hard-earned money on one day of baseball, a few hours to spend. I mean, come on, man. Show the fans any respect. You see it in all sports now where you don't care about the fans. So one reason why I'm even doing this is I care about the fans, us. You know, some streams give you a player perspective or they give you a media perspective. This is the fan perspective. This is very disrespectful to the fans in all cases. So the owner is this guy hasn't done a presser apparently in 20 years. He's had a team in 2005. He's never had a presser with the team. Now, of course, they're not going to like him because he doesn't want the team there. But I think this is just awful. This decision to move to Sacramento is totally nonsensical. If you're moving to Las Vegas, move to Las Vegas. Now, apparently, the president said, well, they are going to move an office to Las Vegas. So why don't you just move the team and play in Las Vegas? What are you even doing in Sacramento? Why don't you just play? You got to use a minor league stadium anyway, a 10,000 seat stadium anyway. Go to Las Vegas. What are you doing? But it's free. They know the guy, blah, blah, blah. You're not building well, this is their opportunity. Come on, guys. This is ridiculous. So it's ridiculous all the way around. And I could tell you this. The Oakland City is responsible. It's a very old stadium. You got about, this is almost kind of going on in Kansas City too. You got about 50 years in a stadium before they start yelling new stadium, new stadium. So the city had a chance to actually do something about this, meet the needs of the owner. Maybe they don't like John Fisher. I don't know. But it's the city's culpable in this. You could have stopped this. You could have went ahead and did this or got a deal done. You've had 20 some odd years to get a deal done. And I think the reason why this doesn't happen sooner was Brad Pitt. Your friend and mine. Well, not actually Brad Pitt, but Billy Beane. Billy Beane signing with the staying with the Oakland A's for so long kind of made them at least a good team where this didn't happen. So because for so many years he made chicken salad out of wow, that's the wrong term. He made filet mignon on McDonald's French fries. At least they had a good team. So disrespectful to the fans, to the city. This is terrible. And I use the term there for the grace of God go I at the beginning because Oriole fans just realize how lucky we've been here. The owner dies. You get a Baltimore City College graduate as the new owner, and you get a lease extension. And this is not our stuff here, but this could have been with the Angelos family the way it went. So that was kind of one of the things I was thinking about there, just to tie that in. Terrible stuff in Oakland. Pitching injuries. Shane Bieber, Garrett Cole is still out. Spencer Strider. Tommy John is a real thing in baseball. It's ridiculous. Guys are throwing too hard, and you're seeing star pitchers out. These are, you could argue, if you said, I don't have all 3 on my list, but you could say these are the 3 best pitchers in baseball. Like, that may have Tommy John issues. Cole may come back. Strider, I mean, this is just a common game. Guys are throwing too hard. I heard a couple of people blame the pitch clock. This has been going on way before the pitch clock. When I watch Corbin Burns pitch, and we're going to do Orioles report in a second, but you kind of see where he doesn't do that. He kind of glides in, doesn't throw too hard all the time, kind of saves his, learns how to pitch. And too many guys are just rock throwers now. And this is why you're getting so many injuries from these guys. Yeah, it works. You get strikeouts and all the other stuff, but you throw all these rocks, you get all these injuries. So it's unfortunate. I'd like to see some change in the game where we're getting some of these great pitchers actually pitch in the game with all the injuries we had. It's disgraceful and unfortunate. Look at this news. Jackson Holiday is going to start, if you're watching this right now on the live, he's playing right now in the first game, batting eighth in the order, batting ninth in the order in his first game against Boston. Certainly all of us are looking forward to the first game over the weekend in Baltimore, where he's going to play. Tony Kemp was released in a corresponding move. Classy Tony Kemp, and Tony Kemp is a great player. I think Tony Kemp is going to be a major league manager someday. Very classy guy, nice guy. Said, go get him. Said good things about Jackson Holiday, good things about organization, even though he got cut. Outstanding for him. I'm going to say this. I was very, very critical of the organization, saying it was flat out service time manipulation, and I stand by that. Even though it doesn't look like it's going to happen for him now, as far as getting the service time. I stand by it. I stand by it because I think what happened was Tony Kemp didn't do anything. I think that was the reason. I think that's why they capitulated. And they're about 2 days before the service time window. I think it's like 2 or 3 days or something like that. I think it's like mid-April where that is. If they had waited to right after the service time window, they would have had a problem with the union. So I think that's why they're doing this now. Whereas if they didn't do it now, they couldn't, because if they did it then, they probably would have had to wait till like mid-May or something like that. And Tony Kemp and they were really struggling. So they had to do something. And so they went ahead and promoted Jackson Holiday. So I do think they wanted to get it, but it just didn't work out. That's my opinion. I mean, a lot of y'all disagree with me, say they were never doing it or whatever. Okay, that's fine. But I think Jackson Holiday, but nevertheless, he's here. We can get over that. Jackson Holiday is going to start for the Baltimore Orioles. Let it begin the great career of Jackson Holiday we hope he has with the Orioles. Let's do an Orioles report, guys. All right. So last week, 2 out of 3 against the Royals, where the Orioles won 2 out of 3, lost 2 out of 3 against the Pittsburgh Pirates. A lot of people were saying the schedule was easier. These two teams aren't bad. The Royals, I think, I had them in last in their division, but they're better. I mean, Bobby Witt's pretty good. I think their pitching is a little bit better. I'm not shocked that this was a little tougher than it was as well. Lost 2 out of 3 to the Pirates, and it's the same. I think the Pirates aren't bad either. They're not. I don't know if they win the division. I don't know how it turns out. They're off to a good start. So doesn't surprise me that they lost 2 out of 3. Issues in the bullpen late in games as well. You don't have Felix Bautista this year. All right, so keep that in mind. Cano, not as good at the start here, so we'll see. But he was so good last year as well. So not going to worry too much about that. Did get Burns' victory yesterday, the first game in Boston. Ace, that's what it looks like, guys. That's what it looks like. Every 5th day, going to, and I get a lot of pushback from some people, from baseball fans on that. A lot of you Oriole fans have never actually seen an ace. I'm serious. Like, it's been that long since the Moose was here, and you had a guy like that where you didn't have to worry every 5th day. You know you're going to get a good start. You know you're going to get 6, 7, 8. Out of his 35 starts or 30, whatever it is, 32 will be quality starts. So we'll see that. I think Grayson as well might be in that category, as good as he's started. Good start. Mountie, Adley Rushman, Grayson Rodriguez, and we just talked about it, Corbin Burns. Mountie's kind of got robbed of a couple home runs, but his batting average has been really good. Adley not over the fence yet. Average really good. Love the way Adley hits. His plate discipline, it's fantastic. I think he's an outstandingly disciplined hitter. Grayson Rodriguez, off to a good start as well. I think Grayson actually can go to the All-Star game this year as well. And Burns is terrific. There's nothing to worry about with Burns. I mean, the only thing, can we keep him healthy? Can we sign him in the offseason? But there's no question about it. With Corbin Burns, as good as he is. Slow start I had Tony Kemp, but he is obviously not here. Austin Hayes, Ramon Urias, Mike Bauman, Tyler Wells. Hayes has not been good to start. There are some calls for Cowser. To me, that's a little disrespectful. He deserves more than a week. He was an all-star last season. So let him go ahead and work himself out a bit before you start yanking him out all the time. It's going to be hard. I would say, though, with these outfield prospects and these young guys, it's going to be hard for some of these vets. These vets are going to feel the heat as well. I mean, we're talking a lot about the black prospects. These vets have to continue to perform. So that's the thing. Urias a slow start. I actually kind of thought it might have been him and not Kemp that left, but they're keeping Urias. Bauman, not great, and it's not great in the one outing. Tyler Wells, not so great so far in the start as well. We'll see. It's a little early to go ahead and throw too much cold, like I said, but bit of a slow start. Not too worried about those guys for the most part. Canal Perez, 15-day DL on Sunday, right oblique strain. So he's not going to be around for the next few days. That's a pretty big loss. He's pretty good. I think the bullpen is not as strong without him. So again, losing a guy here in the bullpen here really is a thing. Early, he's a talented guy, and I really think having him in late in the bullpen as well, especially if Cano is not going to maybe be as good, you got a guy like Perez there is very solid, who has been solid year after year. This week, Red Sox going on right now. Already got one win against the Red Sox going on right now with the Red Sox. Milwaukee Brewers. So interesting to see. First home series for Jackson Holiday, which we're all excited about, and Corbin Burns pitching against the Brewers. How motivated is he going to be for that as well? And a team you might see in the playoffs, Minnesota Twins, as well there. Craig Kimbrell got his first save. Not a lot of save opportunities for Kimbrell there as well. So he hasn't got there as well. But he got his first save. It's going to be not as good this year, I think, in that area as far as saves go. You had Felix Bautista, which was a great security blanket. So far, they've won by wide margins, so they haven't had any real save games. Let's see how it goes here. But Kimbrell's been okay at the start as well. All right. And I'm going to put this is what they were calling him before he got called up, but the Norfolk Tides Fab 5, Jackson Holiday, who's now called up, Connor Norby, Heston Kjerstad, Kobe Mayo, and Kyle Stowers. That's what they're calling the Jackson, I almost said Jackson 5, the Fab 5 there in Norfolk, now 4, now that it has been called up. Cade Povich and Chase McDermott are also down there. They're off to a good start. The pitching in Norfolk hasn't been good, but they've been scoring a ridiculous amount of runs. So we'll see how they continue to score runs now that Jackson's no longer there. But they're scoring a ridiculous amount of runs and getting a lot of wins. So very interesting stuff that's going to be here in the minor leagues as well. All right. So thank you very much for that as well. So Orioles, we're all excited to see Jackson Holiday go ahead and start. We're all excited to see how well we do in the playoffs going forward this year. Let's get back in the playoffs and let's see if we can go ahead and win it. Thank you for joining us this week, this week on the Ravery Sports Podcast. Next week, we're going to have our Ravens big board. Okay, so we're going to go over the top 32 players in the NFL draft. The Ravens, how they might rank their big board. They always say today, best player available. We're going to look at the board. We're going to see who those best players are on the board. Thank you very much for joining us. We will see you next week for the Ravery Sports Podcast. Have a